My family will say I'm in charge before you finish asking. My name is Olivia Walsh. I am a 30-year-old case manager for a nonprofit organization that assists vulnerable women in obtaining secure housing, and I reside in Charleston, South Carolina. It's not glitzy. It's not very profitable, but I'm good at it, and it's actual labor. That didn't seem to matter much in my household, though. It's always been me who is good, the assistant, whoever keeps it together. Was there an oversight regarding the $12,000 needed for back taxes? It was wired by me. Guess who helped my younger stepsister, Chloe, pay off her credit card debt so her credit wouldn't collapse after she maxed it out on luxury bags and a yoga retreat? My stepmother, Ellen, unintentionally charged me $2,300 for flower rentals during a fancy charity banquet she threw at our house. I made the quiet payment because, after all, family is family. Maya, my mother, died 5 years ago. Carcinoma of the ovaries. Phase 4. Too late diagnosis. Too early death. Warm, reticent, and keenly perceptive, she was the lifeblood of our household. She forced me to make a commitment before she died. Don't allow them to use my memory for their own ends. I had no idea what she meant at the moment. Now I do. She once owned the house on Sparrowben Lane. After inheriting it from my grandparents, she used her bare hands to renovate each room, turning it into a sacred space. Ellen formally moved in after her death. She took some time to touch the furniture before doing so. However, the little details disappeared in a matter of months. Mom's handcrafted pillows, the kitchen window's sun catchers, her handwriting on the labels of the spice jars. The picture of her and me on the front hall table was swapped out for one of Chloe, clutching a partially earned diploma. I remained silent, since I was the virtuous daughter, the mediator, the grown-up present, right up till last week. At that point, I received a message from Ellen. We're having a special get-together on Friday, Olivia, my love. We are planning a private dinner to honor your mother. We hope you will join us. 6:00 p.m. Only family. Put on beautiful clothes. Curiosity wasn't my initial instinct. It was dread. The phrase quiet tribute dinner seemed strange for some reason. Ellen was not a sentimentalist by nature. She didn't organize anything for my mom unless it included free cocktails and a social media post. Still, I kind of hoped. Perhaps, just perhaps, they would finally admit everything. Dad might say something from the heart. Chloe might say something nice. Perhaps Ellen no. I didn't complete that idea. Distracted, I worked that Friday morning. Wondering what they meant by family only, I kept reading the passage again. By 5:15, I was wearing a navy outfit that, according to my mother, made my eyes pop. I took my time driving. To allow me to walk, I parked 3 blocks away. As usual, the house had a well-kept lawn, white shutters, and a porch swing that swayed slightly in the wind. But something in me stiffened as I approached. I could see shadows passing through the front window. I could hear the sound of glasses clinking. Laughter. Not silent. Not serious. It appeared to be a celebration. The door burst open as soon as I rang the bell. Unexpected! Wearing that powder pink dress she often wore when she wanted to look innocent in pearl earrings, Ellen stood there grinning too broadly. Olivia, you look beautiful. Thank you very much for coming. The living room was packed. My dad waved clumsily, holding a glass. Chloe was talking to her lover while sitting on the couch's arm. Aunt Cecilia was drinking white wine like it was Easter breakfast, even though she hadn't spoken to me in 3 years. What is this? Still standing in the doorway, I inquired. We had a dinner in remembrance, brightly, Ellen said, to pay tribute to your mother. You're worthy of anything pleasant. We also have a small surprise. The word surprise made my stomach turn. With a hand on my shoulder and a warm, soft shove, she led me inside. A leather folder rested on the table by the fireplace, with a white lily centerpiece. The color is cream, gold embossed. Below it was a tag with my name printed on it. Olivia Walsh, Ellen remarked softly. It's a letter from your mom. It's a meaningful gift. Simply open it whenever you're prepared. I turned to face my dad. He stayed out of my line of sight. Chloe didn't even raise her gaze. The folder sat there like sentiment masquerading as a trap. Shall the first read it right away? I asked thoughtfully. Ellen laughed. Oh no! Hold off until after supper. It's a party. However, I was already aware at the time. It wasn't love, whatever was in that folder. Leverage was used. I remained. I didn't want to. However, I had to know how far they were prepared to go. The tribute meal played out like a magazine scene. Crystal glasses and white linens adorned the table. Everybody had one of the name cards. Aside from mine. Ellen took note and dismissed it with a laugh. Oh no, there must have been a printing error. My dear, take a seat beside me. She led me to the seat right opposite from the leather folder, which is the one to her left. Naturally. The evening seemed to go by slowly. My dad made a quick toast. He sounded flat, like a man repeating what someone else had said. To Maya. She is missed by all of us. That was it. No warmth, no tales. The next to toast was Chloe, although her speech focused more on how Maya had once praised her hair, and her glass was filled with rose. Aunt Cecilia said something about Maya's impeccable housekeeping. I remained silent, since my words would not have landed in this room the way they would have in hers. She clinked her glass softly after dessert, which was an almond cake Ellen claimed was Maya's favorite but wasn't. Oh, Olivia, I believe it's time to wrap up the evening. Her eyes were glimmering a bit too brightly as she pointed to the folder. Proceed. Read it out loud. I paused. Mom wrote a letter? I inquired. Symbolic, she uttered rapidly. We put together a small piece. It pays tribute to her, really. The room fell silent. Chloe even looked up, immediately paying attention. I grabbed the folder and opened it. There were 3 pages with legal layout on thick, cream-colored paper. On the first page's top, Olivia Walsh, amended property transfer agreement, release of interest. I blinked. Once more scanned the paper. My throat tightened with each breath. There was no letter here. It was a court filing. What is this? I lifted the paper and inquired carefully. Ellen's voice was sweet as she cocked her head. It's simply normal paperwork, I see. It's a formal transfer. Nothing is legally binding. I pointed to the legal wording and added, it looks pretty binding. Technically speaking, it does formalize a few things. The property, the faith, the home. This step is merely a formality. Each of us has already signed our portion. I took a look around. Everyone's eyes were fixed on their hands, plates, and drinks. Nobody gave me a look. Would you like me to sign this right away? I inquired. Ellen grinned just as everyone was present. It will greatly simplify things. I read the paragraph that followed. I, Olivia Walsh, give up all ownership of the house at Sparrowbend Lane, the related trust, and Maya Walsh's estate. My hands became icy. I shouted, more loudly than I meant to. This isn't symbolic. This transfer is deed-based. You get everything from this. Ellen chuckled and said, Oh, sweetheart, don't overthink it. But her voice cracked a little. You don't even call this place home. I lost my temper because I wasn't welcome, Dad murmured quietly. That's not fair, but it was too late and from too far away. I looked around the table and said, You all planned this? You got everyone together, poured the wine, pretended that this had to do with Mom, only to have me sign this? Chloe gave an eye roll. You're exaggerating. You make things about yourself all the time. I got up. Being noticed and valued was all I ever wanted from this family. I kept the folder by my side and closed it. You can't take what she left behind by using her name, Ellen said in a quiet, cautionary tone. Olivia, have a seat. In front of everyone, let's avoid making a scene. Calmly, you made the scene, I remarked. The script was written by you. You adorned it with remorse, cake, and candles. Chloe yelled, That house isn't yours. Years have passed since you left, I said, because I had to get out in order to live. Additionally, I believed that perhaps someone would give me a call back for the appropriate reasons. I looked at my dad. Were you aware? I inquired. He didn't respond. He simply gazed at the wine glass he was holding as if it were speaking for him. The folder was left on the table by me. Do you want my signature? I said. It will have to be earned. You can't, in my opinion. I then left. Without a coat. No farewell. My heart was thumping in an attempt to flee betrayal, and I heard the sound of the door shutting behind me. The chill struck me as I stood outdoors in the porch light, and a memory came along with it. Mom gave me a little silver key the week before she died. This will help someday, she muttered. Only if they exert too much pressure. She never explained its purpose. But all of a sudden I realized, that evening, I did not return home. I took the wheel. Nowhere in particular, just continued going around Charleston's neighborhoods, past porches that were warm and oak trees that sounded in the wind like voices I could almost recognize. I had left the folder on the dinner table, so it was still in the passenger seat, unopened. The expression in my father's eyes, however, was what troubled me more than the document. Or, more accurately, its absence. He never raised his head. When I eventually parked in a tiny parking space next to the Battery, it was almost midnight, and I sat with the engine running. I reached into the glove box, opened it, and took out the item I hadn't touched in nearly 5 years, a little tear-shaped silver key that is cool, smooth, and unmarked. When we last had a meaningful chat, my mother had pressed it into my palm. Her voice was feeble, and she was already frail, yet her mind was as sharp as ever. "They'll give it a shot," she muttered. "Use the recommendation if they do, and visit Joel." I didn't get it at the time. However, I also didn't question her, because you paid attention to what Maya Walsh had to say. My mother had trusted Joel Renner, her estate lawyer, long before Ellen came into the picture. He and I hadn't spoken since her burial. I signed the required documents after he received them, and we were done. I wanted answers immediately, though. I contacted his office at 8:01 a.m. the following morning. His aide responded in the same formal manner that I recalled. "Olivia?" Mr. Renner advised, "booking you right away if you ever phoned. He has cleared his 9 a.m. slot. Are you able to attend?" "Yes," I replied, reaching for my coat already. The law office was housed in a red brick structure on Queen Street, behind a line of old-fashioned stores. It had an old book and lemon oil scent. Joel gave me a kind nod in greeting. His eyes were still keen, the kind that could read people before they ever spoke, but his hair had become gray. "Your mother was the most prepared client I've ever had," he continued, shutting the door to his office. "She left directions for everything. This is one of them." He proceeded to a wall safe, turned the dial, and took out a tiny black container. There was a USB drive and a sealed envelope inside, both with my mother's handwriting on them, only if they push for Olivia. My throat constricted. Joel gave the envelope to me. "You should read this first," she said. "You can wait until after for the video." Slowly, I unfolded the letter. The ink was shaky, but her script was still lovely. "Liv, my dearest, I was right if you're reading this. And I apologize for that. Not surprised, though. I wish I could speak so much face to face, but some things must be kept hidden until those around us show their true selves. Even as a child, you had a clear vision of the world. Additionally, you have always been responsible for maintaining peace for others who have never learned how to deserve it. You no longer have to bear this load. You did not inherit a home from me. I left you safe. All the necessary legal documents are in this envelope, and on that drive, the amended trust, the deed, the power of attorney I revoked and replaced in silence, and the will. The only heir is you. You own that house. That also applies to the little account I left in your name and the records that show Ellen and Gavin tried every possible way to get your name taken off of what I created. They might attempt to scare you. I feel bad for you. Be kind to yourself. Give it a shot. Now you have the truth. Hold on to it. And remember this, you were never challenging. The only person who saw too much was you. I cherish you, Mother, my hands were shaking. Not out of fear. Right after release, because I didn't feel like I was the only one bearing mistrust for the first time in years. My mom had anticipated it. She had also armed me. Joel set a folder next to me. Within were a copy of Maya's final will and testament that has been notarized, a deed transfer designating me as the property's only beneficiary and legitimate owner. She revoked all prior powers of attorney in a signed letter. A supplementary document that has been sealed and marked for family disclosure, Joel replied softly. There's a clause as well. 50% of all assets automatically go to a list of NGOs. Your mother chose if someone tries to pressure you into handing away your inheritance. Don't they have no idea? I inquired. None, he responded. She also insured it. With my hands folded over the envelope and the USB still unopened, I sat there. Can I view it here? I inquired. Joel gave a nod. He turned down the lights. He plugged in the drive. Hit the play button. Then she appeared. Mom. She sat in our former home's garden, which was her garden, on television. She was wearing her straw hat, her eyes sharp behind her glasses, the sunlight gentle on her shoulders. They did exactly what I feared, Liv, if you're watching. It's all right. That's what I anticipated. Don't cry. Don't lose your temper. Simply speak. Make use of the documents. Communicate honestly. Play the video if they're still not listening. Instead, let them hear me. She gave a quiet smile. Remember to take another breath after everything is finished and the dust has settled. Avoid living your entire life in combat mode. You never won this fight. Now it's your house. It took me a while to cry. Not until my reflection appeared on the screen, my face composed, my eyes red, and the image faded to dark. And I experienced something new for the first time since my mother's passing. Not sorrow, command. The atmosphere had changed by the time I left Joel Renner's office. Sharper. It was as though the mist I had been living in had finally dissipated. I had been told to let things go for years, to be the larger individual. It meant something to trust that family. However, now that I could still hear my mother's voice, I realized silence is not peace. It is lucidity. And I had never had such a clear view of things. I didn't return to my flat that evening. I visited Reagan's. More significantly, Reagan was my closest friend and the only one who had seen the family facade long before I did. She has been the one constant in my life since we first met during our freshman year at Carolina State. She was aware of my habits and behaviors, my anxieties. I have a tendency to minimize things until it consumes me. She didn't ask any questions when she opened the door and saw my face. She simply moved out of the way and gave me a blanket. Whiskey or tea? Softly, she inquired. Both, I said. I told her everything. The key, the letter, the film, the document, and the tribute supper. She only nodded, her eyes growing darker with each new insight, without once interrupting. After I was done, I took the USB out of my backpack. I said, she made a second video. The first video was for the family, for everybody. Reagan bent forward. Are you going to show them? Not yet, I replied. However, I will first give them an opportunity to deceive me. It was hardly a dramatic plan. It was a surgical procedure. I wasn't seeking conflict. I had no desire for vengeance. All I wanted was for them to reveal themselves in their own words, facing the reality they believed I would never uncover. The following morning, I sent the message. A collective text message to Aunt Cecilia, Ellen, Dad, and Chloe. Hello, I've given it some thought. I want to see you again. Tomorrow, 6 p.m., I'll be the host. It's time for us to have an honest conversation about this. Only family. The reply arrived in a matter of minutes. Ellen, I'm very happy, my love. I had faith that you would change. Anticipating it. Dad, Liv, I'm proud of you. I'll see you then. Bring wine, Chloe. It's going to be a vibe, I suppose. With a calm heart, I gazed at the television. They believed I was going to fold. They believed guilt was still effective. They were mistaken. Reagan assisted me with the setup. We borrowed a projector from her office, rearranged the furniture, and cleared the wall. I made sure the film was cued and ready and put up the speaker equipment on a white linen towel. Instead of the couch, I positioned 3 seats facing the screen. Like a jury, I wanted them seated. And I put the following next to the projector: a duplicate of the will, the action, the clause of trust, a little framed picture of my mom grinning in the sun in her garden. It was precisely 5:59 p.m. when the doorbell sounded. Ellen arrived first, dressed in pearls and a beige blazer, her hair pushed back too tight, as though she were getting ready for a press conference. When she intended to remind me of my former self, she said, Madison, using my middle name as usual. I gently corrected Olivia. Enter. Next, my dad, then Chloe. Due to an unforeseen prior engagement, Aunt Cecilia sent a note stating that she was unable to attend. Translation: she sought deniability because she had heard something wasn't right. I'm good with that. Instead of alcohol, I offered them tea. They moved in their seats as I carefully and gently poured it. Ellen crossed her legs and murmured, So, let's have a conversation. We're happy you're prepared to use common sense. I actually remarked, I'm just ready to be clear. As I walked up to the projector, I turned down the lights, grabbed the remote control. Please watch something for me. Does this have to be done? Chloe complained. As we already stated, I said, "You spoke enough. It's her time now." I hit the play button. The screen sprang to life. There she was. Mom, occupying that garden while sitting. That hat, that voice, that indefinable silence. This indicates that you were asked to sign anything if you are viewing it. They most likely informed you that it was for your convenience. Perhaps they even used love to guilt you. Ellen tensed. But Liv, you already know. You've known all along. When everyone else got lost, you were the one who managed to stay anchored. Let's let it all out now. She enumerated everything. The update will, the power of attorney that was withdrawn, the nonprofit organizations included in the trust clause, the actual clause. Any compulsion results in a 50% automatic transfer to nonprofit recipients. I lowered the loudness a bit. My mother calmly stated to the other people in the room, I would advise against manipulating her if you still intend to do so, as you are no longer interacting with a girl. My daughter is under your care. I also taught her not to be silent. The video ended abruptly. After that, there was complete stillness, and then Chloe sneered. Really? Is this a recorded lecture? Do we have a soap opera going on? No, I replied. This is the real world. The one in which I am well aware of your attempt. Ellen stood up. You don't get it, Olivia, I interrupted. I completely understand. You took advantage of my sorrow. You took advantage of my allegiance. You wore family attire to manipulate others. I approached the table and tapped the legal documents folder. You also lost. My dad's mouth opened. I closed it one more time. He seems to have run out of hiding spots for once. I remarked softly that 50% of the estate would vanish overnight if anyone attempted to contest this. The house, the account, and whatever interest you believe I was unaware of in the land development plan are all included in that. Ellen's face went white. The damage this will bring to our reputation is beyond your comprehension. No, I replied. However, I am aware of the consequences if I allow you to continue stealing from the deceased. They didn't say goodbye. No hugs. I'm not sorry. Only the gentle click of the door closing behind them and the sound of heels on hardwood. She had observed from the hallway as Reagan emerged from the kitchen. Are you all right? Not yet, I replied. However, I'm making progress. I lit a candle in honor of my mother that evening. She deserved to have light restored to her name, not because she was grieving. Additionally, I didn't feel excluded from the family for the first time. I felt like the one they were unable to manage anymore. The room where my family used to live was silent in the days after the film was made public. It wasn't the calm sort, though. It was the type that makes your skin tingle, like a tempest awaiting its next blow. I initially believed that perhaps they had finally grasped it, that they would take a back seat and accept my choice, if not gracefully, then at least with some space. But when my work phone rang 2 days later, that fantasy was dashed. Olivia Walsh? Talking. Hello, this is Fairstone Properties Karen, just making sure you're okay with us starting the Sparrowben Lane land survey. I went cold. I didn't ask for a survey. Oh, she said. Well, this morning we got a call from Gavin Walsh. He stated that he was advancing a preliminary development project as a co-owner of the site. I tightened my jaw. I stated evenly that there isn't a co-owner, and within an hour I will fax you the necessary paperwork. Please stop doing anything else until you get it. Quickly, she answered. Understood. I'll mark the file. I ended the call, and I experienced a new emotion rise through the old ones for the first time since it all started. Fury, not the noisy sort. Not the type that yells in empty kitchens or smashes plates. It was the silent rage of a person who has been undervalued for far too long. They continued to try. I wasn't finished defending what was rightfully mine. Joel Renner and I had another meeting that afternoon. I was previously anticipated by him. Passing me a big legal folder, he continued. I thought they'd try something. I thus wrote a cease and desist letter beforehand. Now we just need your signature. Will they be deterred by this? I inquired. It will slow them down, he said, and will file for an injunction if they push once more. What about the trust clause? Still in existence. Still unbreakable. 50% of the trust is automatically transferred to the nonprofits your mother designated if you are the target of any attempt to coerce, defraud, or threaten you. The letter was signed by me. I didn't shake my hand. I got the first text message that night. Mom, Olivia, I hope you understand how much the scenario is upsetting the family. Nobody desired this. But you're not aware of how much harm your pride is doing. Let's discuss simply the two of us. One from Chloe came next. Well done. You prevailed. I hope the drama was worthwhile. Lastly, my dad, can we have a private meeting? It's just the two of us. There is no pressure. All I want is to comprehend. I spent a lot of time looking over the messages. The old Olivia in me wanted to respond, to become softer, to make things more amicable. But now I knew better. I was aware that these weren't requests to get back in touch. Under the guise of concern, they were pressure points. Because the truth is that the family doesn't appreciate you after you stop being their safety net. They look for fresh methods to wrap you up. I discovered an envelope on my porch when I opened the front door the following morning. No mail, just my name written by hand. There was a letter inside from my dad. Liv, I apologize if we let you down. That was never the intention. However, this home and property are more than just pieces of real estate. It's in the past. Additionally, your mother understood the significance of maintaining it inside the family. We're only attempting to achieve that. Ellen could have gone too far. She was attempting to safeguard the work that Maya had initiated. You've made your point. Don't escalate this, please. I'm still your father. I will always cherish you, Dad. I gently folded the letter. After that, I grabbed my phone and dialed Joel. I said, let's activate the next clause. Sending a message is timely. By the end of the week, the Maya Walsh Trust confirmed a sizable payment to the local nonprofit for women escaping financial abuse that my mother had chosen, $125. Oh. They had initiated the initial 50% transfer. They had attempted to take my hand. They would thereby forfeit theirs. That night, as the gentle Charleston dusk hummed around us, Reagan and I sat on the back porch. Are you certain you wish to continue pushing? She inquired. I said, it's not about pushing. The goal is to break the cycle. She warned that they would discuss neighborhood associations, church circles, and family pals. They will distort it. Let them, I said. I would rather be criticized for being self-centered for defending what is rightfully mine than commended for giving everything away to win favor. She lifted her glass. To limits, I remarked, to finally possessing them. We exchanged a clink, and I sensed the crevice where the shame once resided deep within me completely closing. This was just the start of the cease and desist. I took another action 3 days after the trust's charity clause was activated. This time, it only required a notarized document and my lawyer's signature, and there was no need for conflict. Officially, I became the owner of the house on Sparrowben Lane, sole proprietorship, legally documented, accessible to the general public. I also didn't notify them by text. They had attempted to take it surreptitiously behind my back, and I wanted them to learn the same way. However, having power over the house was insufficient. Beyond walls and actions, my mother had left me more. Both literally and figuratively, she left a foundation. There was a stipulation in her estate paperwork that I hadn't yet fulfilled. The Walsh Haven Initiative is a non-profit organization that is currently inactive. Our mission is to assist women who are subjected to financial coercion by their families. She had filed it, financed it, designated me as the upcoming director. It only required activation. I therefore set up the launch, opened the company bank account, and filed the necessary papers. Maya Walsh's legacy would start over in 2 weeks, not by inheritance, by means of impact. At which point they made another call. Joel was the first to receive the message. He stated they wanted to meet in person. They know they will lose, so they won't contest the court records. However, they assert that they deserve closure. His voice was skeptical, and I could hear it. I said, I'll meet them. Are you certain? Yes, I said, but according to my terms. We set up a private room in the law office as a neutral location for the meeting. The room was designed to be clear, uncomplicated, and free from distractions. 4 chairs, a big mahogany table, and a folder containing everything they ever attempted to take. Ellen was the first to arrive. Her groomed hands, pearl earrings, and the ivory blouse she wore on the evening of the tribute dinner. My father then arrived. Older than I thought. Or simply smaller, perhaps. This time, no Chloe. No allies. Two individuals who came to the realization that they had lost their voice. When they entered, I remained standing. Ellen tried to grin as she said, "Olivia, you look good." I responded flatly, "I am." Without saying another word, she sat down. My dad came after me. Joel sat quietly but steadily next to me. So I said, "You desired resolution?" My dad was the first to speak. We aired. "That much is obvious. I fixed your faults. You didn't merely make them. You made a plan. You plotted. You attempted asset theft with a bad performance." Ellen started, "I wouldn't use that word." I snapped, my voice firm, "Then I will. That's precisely what I did. And Mom shielded me before you could complete what you started, which is the only reason I'm not bringing charges." Ellen tensed. My dad moved around in his chair. "What are you looking for?" I questioned them. "This meeting is not intended for an apology. I advise you to try again after displaying any contrition if you came here hoping for forgiveness." They were silent. I got up and started to open the folder. I moved papers across the table one by one. The clause of trust, the property deed, the registration of the nonprofit, a duplicate of the initial letter of donation. You attempted to delete these documents. They're here to stay. "You're being spiteful," Ellen said. "No," I replied. "I'm being thorough. Bringing charges would be vindictive. Release the video. Press calls. I have shown generosity." My dad pursed his lips as he studied the papers. "Your point has been made." "No," I replied. "My mom did. All I'm doing is checking that it echoes." Joel cleared his throat. "Any further correspondence on the estate, the residence, or money matters will now go through my office," he said. "You're interrupting us then?" Ellen inquired, her voice suddenly icy. I gave her a direct look. "I'm setting a limit. It is up to you what you do with it." My father was quieter than I had anticipated when he eventually spoke. "This is not how I wanted things to turn out." I answered, "Then you shouldn't have let her lead." The ensuing quiet was protracted, heavy, final. They got up. No hugs, no farewells. Halfway to the door, my father glanced back once. His eyes were wet, but not from tears, but from something more ancient. "I'm sorry," perhaps even acknowledgement. He had now witnessed the entire arc, from submissive daughter to lady with the last say. I went back to the house on Sparrowbend Lane that night, by themselves. I listened to the silence while I stood in the foyer. The silence didn't feel like erasure for the first time in years. The sensation was one of presence. I entered the study, turned on the antique record player, and put on a vinyl record that Mom used to listen to while she worked in the garden. Softly, the melody drifted. I sat by the window and poured myself a cup of tea. Additionally, for the first time since her death, I allowed myself to be pleased. It wasn't because I had one, but because I had at last made a complete and unreserved choice for myself. I formally started the Walsh Haven Initiative a month after the altercation. It wasn't ostentatious, not a major news release, not champagne. The house was open and calm, with a new coat of paint and a hand-lettered sign outside that said, "This is a safe place for you." The house's front parlor was transformed into a warm and inviting area with soft rugs, comfortable sofas, and bookshelves. Now hanging behind the front desk was one of my mother's old quilts. She was everywhere. Additionally, it wasn't painful for the first time. It was grounded. People began to arrive in small groups. Young ladies seeking assistance in dealing with financial abuse in their families. After years of silent control, mothers are attempting to rebuild. Volunteers, therapists, contributors, and companions. And one day, a girl who wasn't much younger than me entered stealthily, carrying only a folder of papers and a ripped knapsack. She uttered only 6 words. I was forced to sign everything. I grasped her hand. Let's begin there. The rest of the family, however, became less noticeable. My dad no longer called. Ellen moved out soon after our encounter, according to a neighbor, who told me she needed a spiritual reset. Chloe wrote something ambiguous about being betrayed by blood on Instagram. They never again attempted to break the trust, because they were aware that half of it would disappear to the charities. My mother selected the instant they did. However, the threat was not the legacy. It was about the ensuing truth. Not only had my mother shielded me from them, she had thought I would go on to create something better. I had too. I continued to live simply, continued to put in lengthy hours. Still irrigated the garden the way Mom used to, with rosemary by the entrance and jasmine by the porch. However, I added something fresh. A little plaque on a bench in the backyard beneath the old oak tree in honor of Maya Walsh with love. Maya Walsh was a woman who chose strength through silence and instructed her daughter to follow suit. I often sat on that bench with Reagan, sometimes with coffee, sometimes in silence. Neither of us had to explain why we were crying. She handed along a preliminary version of our foundation's first annual report one evening. She turned to the last page and said, "You know, we ought to include one of your quotes." Me? I arched an eyebrow. You, indeed, are the creator. The one who, without striking a match, strolled through flames. I considered it. After that, I grabbed a pen and wrote, "Your decision to prioritize serenity above performance is not selfish, particularly when guilt served as the foundation." It was published by us. Additionally, the volume of messages received was overwhelming. Daughters, sons, partners, and caregivers from all around the nation are writing to express, "I appreciate you sharing the narrative that no one else is allowed to share." I'm aware that I'm not alone now. I had no idea that saying no was acceptable. I threw a little memorial party in the backyard a few months later on the anniversary of my mother's death. No speeches. Candles alone. She was photographed in the garden, one of her favorite tunes on a gentle playlist, and an entire room full of individuals she changed, despite never having met. I felt something I hadn't felt in years when I stood at the house's entryway that evening. Silence. Not numbness, not repression, but earnest, genuine silence, as if everything had arrived at last. Family, I had thought, meant perseverance weathering any storms, no matter who brought them. However, I have gained further knowledge. Blood, blame, or duty do not define a family. The people who choose truth with you are your family. Who doesn't have to repair you to sit next to you? Someone genuinely says, "I see you," and if it's not said first, you tell yourself that, because you are worthy of being heard. You are valuable. Peace is worth it for you.